This is the extraordinary story of Joseph Lyons, the first Prime Minister to win 3 terms in a row. Joseph Aloysius Lyons was born 15th of September 1879 and was an Australian politician who served as the 10th Prime Minister of Australia, in office from 1932 until his death in 1939. He began his career in the Australian Labor Party but became the founding leader of the United Australia Party after the 1931 ALP split. He had earlier served as the Premier of Tasmania from 1923 to 1928. Lyons was born in Stanley, Tasmania, and before entering politics worked as a schoolteacher. He was active in the Labor Party from a young age and won election to the Tasmanian House of Assembly in 1909. He served as the State Treasurer from 1912, aged just 33 years of age, until 1914. Under John Earle, before replacing Earle as party leader in 1916 as a 37-year-old. After 2 elections that ended in hung parliaments, Lyons was appointed Premier in 1923 at the head of a minority government. He pursued moderate reforms and successfully negotiated a constitutional crisis over the powers of the Legislative Council, or the Upper House. At the 1925 election, he had led Labor to its first majority government in Tasmania, but the party lost office 3 years later. In 1929, Lyons resigned from state parliament to enter federal politics, winning a House of Representatives seat in Labor's landslide victory at the 1929 election. He was immediately appointed to cabinet by the new Prime Minister James Scullin, becoming Postmaster General and Minister for Works and Railways. In 1930, he served as acting Treasurer while Scullin was overseas and came into conflict with the Labor caucus over the government's response to the Great Depression. He preferred orthodox financial policies. In 1931, Lyons and his followers left the Labor Party to sit as independents. His exact motivations for leaving the party have been subject to debate. A few months later, his group merged with other oppositions parties to form the United Australia Party. He was elected leader of the opposition. Lyons led the UAP to a landslide victory at the 1931 election. Nicknamed Honest Joe, he was known as a masterful political campaigner and became popular with the general public. His personal popularity was a major factor in the government's re-election in 1934 and 1937. He was the first Prime Minister to win 3 federal elections. The UAP initially governed alone, but after 1934 formed a coalition with the Country Party. Lyons served as his own treasurer until 1935 and oversaw Australia's recovery from the Great Depression. He faced a number of foreign policy challenges, but accelerated Australia's transition toward an independent foreign policy. In the lead up to World War II, his government pursued a policy of appeasement and rearmament. Here is a look at Joseph Lyons from a very different era, some 93 years ago, when Australia was or had a White Australia policy. It's interesting to note how far we have come, but also how much history seems to repeat itself as we now face a looming financial crisis as a result both of the swelling from the GFC of 2008 and, of course, of the COVID carnage of the period 2020 to 2022.
The result of the election has demonstrated to the world that the strong and solid common sense which is characteristic of the British race has asserted itself here as it has recently in the election in Great Britain. The only real choice the people had to make was for sound, sane finance and government as against plans for currency inflation and political control of currency and credit. The victory which our policy has achieved should do much to remove the fears regarding the future of Australia entertained by those who had followed with increasing anxiety the various monetary and other proposals of the Federal Labor Party in the past 12 months or more. These people may rest assured that Australia will now carry on the work of economic rehabilitation in a manner that will uphold British tradition.
Lyons died of a heart attack in April 1939, becoming the first Prime Minister to die in office. He is the only Prime Minister from Tasmania and one of two state premiers who have become Prime Minister, along with George Reid. Several years after his death, his widow Enid Lyons became the first woman elected to the House of Representatives. How's that for an incredible man, an incredible history, and even his wife was also a political pioneer. It just goes to show how politics does not need to be the way it always has been played. Joseph Lyons certainly proved that fact. One wonders if the rejuvenated United Australia Party, under the tutelage and leadership of Craig Kelly, may also achieve its form of government, perhaps a minority government, perhaps a majority government, or even a balance of power. One thing's for sure, the political system and the political landscape is a wide open event in 2022 with the election looming. I hope you've enjoyed this brief historical trip down memory lane, courtesy of World Series News and myself, Jason Olborn, candidate for the United Australia Party, who was also once a member of the Australian Labor Party. I'm delighted to bring this to you, and I look forward to enjoying more videos and interacting with you either through the websites that I offer or in person at one of our many meeting points around the electorate. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next update.